Hey guys, it's Darian here from Darian Empire, and today is yet another Witch Baby Wednesdays. So I am a day late because it's Thursday, but I've got multiple sick children. I've been sick and just feeling like crap. So hopefully I can really bring it as much as I can bring it in this video. I said, of course, a prayer before I got on here, calling in my goddesses to help me with this video. So if you are interested in what it means to be a witch, keep on watching. All right, guys, so if you are new here, welcome. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that bell for notifications if you want to get more witchy things. I also do lots and lots of other things. I talk about the law of attraction. I talk about Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction. I talk about source. I talk about mental health. I talk about being an empath. I talk about lots and lots and lots and lots of things. Self-love, self-care, all that juiciness. And so if that is up your alley, make sure you follow me. And of course, always go to DarianEmpire.com and check out everything that I have there. I also am a musician, so that stuff is on this channel. Lots and lots of things. I sell Rocket Empath t-shirts on my website. I sell courses. I sell personal tarot readings, which I also do on this channel. So lots and lots of things that I'm always doing. So if any of that piques your interest, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for the notifications, and you will be informed every time I do a new video. So these particular videos are Witch Baby Wednesdays, where I talk about me being a witch baby myself, coming from the world of mysticism and metaphysics and spirituality, and sort of weaving those two together, and discovering so many things as a witch. So the video that I'm going to talk about today is what it means for me to be a witch. I am going to just briefly say, for those of you who came here just to figure out real quick what it means to be a witch and what that actually is for people who have absolutely no clue, I will let you know briefly, and then I will get into what it means to be a witch for me. So if we're speaking very, very, very generally, what it means to be a witch for many, many people, it's really different for everybody. But if we're speaking very generally, it's someone who practices witchcraft. Generally, it's somebody who practices witchcraft. Of course, I talked all about that in my previous video, so go check that out if you want to know what witchcraft is and how witches practice witchcraft. But generally, it is either a nature-based religion or a nature-based practice where we use the energy of nature and sort of have a respect for nature, understanding that we also are a part of nature. We really have a oneness with nature. Again, that's very, very general. Not necessarily does everybody feel that way. And I think also for what it means to be a witch, generally speaking, I think what I've seen a common thread between what I've seen in all witches, could be male or female, just so you guys know, is that there's this general desire for self-mastery and self-empowerment, and also just tapping into our own power, right? It's really this, it's really sort of like a personal religion, except it's all lumped into this one category, which is why it's so confusing of what it really means to be a witch. And I think the last thing would also be a healer. There's lots of healing in witchcraft. Shamanism is considered to also be witchcraft. All of like the energy healing stuff that you see, that's all, it's not everybody calls that witchcraft, but that's generally very, very general, what it means to be a witch. All right, so now let's get down to the nitty gritty of what it means for me to be a witch. So I have about 11,000 followers, and you guys have been following me, for those of you who have been following me for some many years and have seen that, you know, my journey has always been in spirituality. It's always been in helping those suffering with depression, helping those suffering with anything to really get out of and free themselves of their own suffering. But also, you know, I've gotten into the empath thing, myself being an empath, I've really shared what that is and what that means to me. And I think some people are a little bit like, what is this witch thing? A lot of other people are like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense. But I really just want to describe, and not because I feel any need to explain myself. I think a lot of people have asked a lot of questions about, like, do you believe in God still? Do you still believe in source? What's happening to all this? And I don't really feel the need to explain that to anyone. I do definitely think that my following is going to shift a little bit. And I think the same way, you know, being a musician, I think the same way musicians have to, and their music has to grow up with their following, I think that my message has to grow up with my following as well. So I think that in a very divine way, I've been called to witchcraft not only because it's just been the natural progression of my own soul and my own soul's calling me, but I think that you guys needed something. And so I think that is one reason for me as to why I've sort of come into witchcraft and why this means anything to me. For a long time, I talked mostly about source. I talked about shifting the mindset, shifting the stories. I talked very general, and I loved it, and I still love it, and I still think that it's very, very important. I'm still trickling out my old videos. I still have lots and lots of courses and content offering that generality of spirituality, that it doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't, you know, as long as you have that source within you, as long as you have some connection to source, it doesn't matter what you call it. Understanding the concept of going general, right? So that's something that Abe Hicks teaches, this concept of going general. When we've created this world in this specificity, when we've created the world of specificity that feels painful, we have to pull back and create generality. We have to pull back and become aware of generality. So rather than, I need this specific thing to make me happy, which would be specific, I want to feel happy. What does happiness feel like? It feels like tingling in my body. It feels like, right? So these are some of the things that I've been teaching over the course of the last few years on my channel here and just as a spiritual coach. Generality, generality, generality. I became so effing good at generality that I wanted more. And this is the progression of what happens when you learn how to get really general. You understand this concept that generally, you know, I no longer need to be convinced that God exists, that I'm loved by God, that I've created everything around me, that those are all general topics that I've gotten really good at understanding myself. And if I'm being really, 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 really frank, on one aspect, the reason I got into witchcraft is just because I started following it. But for me, what it means to be a witch is creating more of focus. It's channeling that generality of source. Okay, here's source. Source is this big, general, all oneness, all love, everything that is concept. And when we focus on that, we then get to have fun in the flesh. And so what it means to be a witch for me is to finally have fun in my mother effing flesh. To finally have fun in my flesh, in my body, in my being, in this physical world. It's to actually start to physically create the world that I really love. You know, I worked so much on the generality of everything. And that was beautiful, and I still do that, and I still need that, and there will always be times when I need that. There will never come a time when I don't. When I wake up in the morning, I want to be general. When I wake up in the morning, I want to say, thank you, source. Whatever that is in that moment, the very general concept of love and creation and beingness and flow and consciousness and all of that is magnificent. But for me, when I practice witchcraft, it feels like I'm taking that general topic and I'm sort of weaving it into the physical world. I'm creating this very specific practice to channel these general topics. Now, if you don't follow Abraham Hicks and you haven't been following me for a while, you probably have no effing clue what I'm talking about right now. This concept of being general versus being specific. And you know, I have lots of videos that I will be trickling out from my Freedom Friday reboot, my old videos that will explain that to you. I don't know. I can't really explain all of that, but for me, what it means to be a witch is for the soul and the flesh to join. When I talk about, you know, Darien Empire, and I've talked about this for many years, sitting on my throne means being grounded in my body and deeply connected to source. To be a practicing witch, practicing witchcraft, to me personally, feels like being the queen, sitting on my throne as the medium between source and flesh. I am the medium between source and flesh, constantly with one foot in the generality of all positive energy and the specifics of this body, this flesh, this home, this everything, this dense energy. You know, I've chosen to specifically be Darien. That's what I mean. Specifically, generally, I am all that is, right? I am God, I'm a part of you, and I'm speaking on general terms. We are all one, and that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. And if that's where you are, needing to just hear that, needing to get out of specifics and hear just that we are all one, that we are all love, that there is no difference between you and I, that I have created everything that I see specifically, that I mean, based off of the story that I've generated within my own mind. It's all just being reflected back to me. The story I'm telling is constantly being reflected back to me. What I'm seeing is merely my book of life that I've created, right? And so you may be in a space that I was in where I needed to get really general, right? I needed to hear about source. I needed to do that. I needed that. And I know that a lot of you, some people are kind of, a very small few of you, I can sense are a little bit freaked out. Like, why aren't you talking about source anymore? Because I know source in my being. I don't need to talk about it like I used to talk about it. Now, I know it, so I can be it in my flesh. I can be the embodiment of it. So to be a witch for me is the transition from talking about source to being the embodiment of it, to knowing it in my soul and in my flesh. And so that is what it means to be a witch for me personally. That is also why you are not going to hear me as much talking about the general terms of oneness and source. Yes, of course I will still talk about that. Of course I still believe all of that. Of course there is a time when I need that, when I need to go general and I need to just remember that this is not really where I belong. That these things that I can touch and feel, and this body is not my end all be all truth. That my truth is source. That my truth is that very general concept of oneness. That is my truth. But I got to a point where I knew that. And if I just stayed there, I would have gotten really bored. In fact, I did get really bored. And I said, okay, I'm bored now. And there's also this thing that you will hear very often in the spiritual community called spiritual bypassing. It feels really bad to say it, but I think that the concept I'm not going to call it spiritual bypassing, but over spiritualizing possibly. And I'm not even going to see it as a negative. I think that we can, when we find a spiritual path and we start on a spiritual path, we can get very high off of the general topics of God and source. And it's magical, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. But what happens is we do leave our bodies. We do leave the awareness of the physical world. And what I know for my own personal self, what I choose to know, is that I didn't come here in my flesh to just leave my flesh. I didn't come here to just leave. I didn't come here to remember myself. I came here to remember myself and then go live. I didn't come here to just remember myself. I think that there's, personally, this is my own personal opinion of spirituality. I think that I know that there is a common concept, I'm not going to call it a misconception, it is a common concept in the spiritual world that we come to this world in the flesh, that we're somehow assigned to it. I think that's a crock of mother effing bullshit. In my own personal opinion, I think it's complete bullshit. That doesn't mean that you can't believe that. You don't have to believe what I believe. I think it's a load of bullshit that somebody assigned me to this place and that my job is then to roam around looking for home. I think that that's ridiculous. And my spiritual knowledge and practice has led me to believe that that is absolutely ridiculous. What I know to be true, what I choose to know to be true, is that I already know my worthiness and my holiness. That's intrinsically in me. I can't even escape that. And if I try, I will be in grave pain. And that's why I've ever been in grave pain, because I've tried to escape my own holiness and my own oneness with all things and my own power and my own worthiness and my own internal well-being and blissness, right? That's just what I am. And that because of the way the world works, because this particular universe is, I don't know if we all collectively as souls decided this, or if the God that is all of us decided this, to create this thing called the law of attraction, where we got to just create whatever we wanted, where we got to just pick life out of a catalog and create it for ourselves and create more of it and enjoy the freaking ride. I don't know why we created it like that. I think that that was a great idea. I think it was really cool. Whoever got together and made that up was awesome. But I think once we all knew that that's the way it was, we made ourselves. I believe that I made my own flesh and my own personality. I believe that my soul made my own flesh and my own personality in this world around me, and the journey and the personal legend. I've been reading The Alchemist lately. And, you know, I believe all of that. So I believe ultimately that we came here to enjoy our lives. And what helps me to come here and enjoy my life is both knowing my holiness, my oneness, and carrying that knowing with me. Like I'm ultimately worthy. There's no like, we come here lost in the world and we have to find our divinity and find our worthiness. No, we come here knowing our worthiness. We just decide to believe that we aren't worthy from somebody else. We learn all that here, you know? We don't learn that from just coming into the flesh. We don't learn that coming into the flesh. So why the fuck on earth, now I'm like getting angry about it, but why on earth would we think that we came here to lose ourselves, just to have to go find ourselves again? And that is the only purpose of life. That's not the purpose of life. That would mean that all of your dreams are haunting you. All of your dreams, all the things that you want to do, that you in your own spiritual mind are probably calling mundane and worthless, and it doesn't matter. We're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy things. And one of my choices to have fun is to believe that I am a magical being. I know that I'm a magical being, but to believe in the magic of everything around me because it's just more fun. Why the hell wouldn't I want to be a witch? If I could be a magical witch in the world, yep, I'll take that. If you want to be a wizard, be a wizard. If you could be a magician, be a magician. Why wouldn't you want to be that? Now I feel like I'm like trying to convince you, but I think I'm arguing with the limitations that I believed in my own life, and also the limitations that I took on in my spiritual practice as well. I think that we do take on a lot of limitations in our spiritual practice as well. So just take note that the ego can find any way to make it better than others, or separate it from anyone, or do the thing where it tries to become a part of something to, again, still separate itself from its own shadow self. It's a weird concept of how all of that works. But I think that in the spiritual path, I took I followed Gabby Bernstein and reading A Course in Miracles in this very like light worker world, and Marianne Williamson and all of that. And I followed that. And what started happening is it started looking like a bunch of the same blonde white women wearing malas and white. And it was like, we got this idea. That was never me, but that's the world I was in. And nothing against blonde white women who wear malas and wear white. There's nothing against that. But it started to feel like my ego started to say, oh, I have to do that in order to be spiritual. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I am just a natural born rebel. So of course I'm going to rebel against that. And to me, personally, being a witch, if there were ever a label to give me, that seems to be a label that fits better than anything, because it's such a flowy label. Like there is nothing that says, oh yeah, this person that looks this way or dresses this way or prays to this certain god means that you're a witch. None of that is what it means to be a witch, right? Witches don't pray to any specific god. We all pray to our own god, and that's kind of the whole point. Now, in certain religions, there is the god and the goddess, which is the dual aspect of the one God, right? The oneness that is God. And then there's nature, that we use the energy of nature and harness that energy and all of that. But I mean, there are witches that pray to Satan and worship Satan, and there are witches that worship Jesus. There are Christian witches, and there are witches that worship specific goddesses, and some only worship the goddess and not the god. And so it's really like, for me, I feel like I can be all of me, and all aspects of me is what makes me a witch. All aspects of me. Whereas when I was on just the spiritual path, I felt like I couldn't bring my music into that. And I was like, but my music is my magic. That is who I am. My music has always been who I am. I am a creatrix. I can't go any further in life without that. And so to separate God and my music is like, whoa, that doesn't even, So if you're on this spiritual path and you think that your spiritual path is separate from the joys that you have in your life, you should probably get a new spiritual path, because that's not it. And that's where I was. But I mean, not to say that there's anything wrong with where you're at. I was at that point for a long time. And it really was just in my own mind that I didn't think that those two went together. And in my own mind, being a witch and being able to have this fluidity of whatever I pray to that day, whatever I feel like praying to that day, and calling on source and different goddesses and angels and whatever I want to, and just the own divinity within me. And then also being able to take that and create music as a spell. Hello. Like, we just took it to church in my mind. We just took it to church. And also, I will say this one last thing before I go. I always think I'm going to be on here for like 5 minutes, and then it's like, I don't even know how long I've been on. It's like 30 minutes later. I guess that's a a good sign, right? You know, I'm probably doing something I really love if I can't shut myself up about it. But the last and final thing that I want to say is to just being on a spiritual path for me with mysticism and how we recognize the ego and all of that. And I still am on that path. Don't deny that. Like, don't think that I'm denying that because I'm talking about this. But there were some things that my mind went, oh, this is not in alignment for me. And one of the things was in recognizing the ego, as well as understanding the law of attraction, that we need to be positive and all of that. It's very easy to deny your own dark feelings, and even more so to judge yourself when you're not high vibe. In witchcraft, we use our anger and our darker emotions, and we can use the power of that to transform things. We can use that in spells. And it's very much more an accepting of ourselves. Now, I also understand that lower vibrational awareness is, of course, not as powerful as love and joy and bliss and all of that. And I understand that love and joy and bliss is my absolute truth. But sometimes I just need to be in that anger. Sometimes I need to just love it. And I think the only reason I've gotten to that point is because, you know, this past year was really hard for me, where I was trying to do what Abe Hicks was saying and just ignore it and let it like kind of take care of itself and just focus on joyful things. And that worked for a while. And then it didn't for me. It was too overbearing to ignore it. And so I had to look at it in order to release it. And I struggled with being in a space of feeling bad because I was so used to being in a space of feeling good. And so I just needed help with practicing self-love again when I was in a darker space, you know? And not to say that spirituality, that a spiritual path doesn't, of course, help me with that. Of course it does. But I was just denying myself that wholeness in not allowing myself to be human and forcing myself to over spiritualize everything, and also not allowing myself to feel lower vibrational energies and not feel bad about it, you know? And not saying that I always did that, but I was usually always high vibe. And so there was nothing to question that, you know? But witchcraft has kind of given me a few more tools under my tool belt for accepting myself in my darker emotions, and understanding that is an aspect of my humanity. That the moment I accept that and love the darkness that ultimately brings absolute light to it and disperses that darkness and disperses light into the darkness, right? And so it's really, I do have to say that this is officially my one last thing to say. I do have to say that far before, maybe a year, probably like a year and a half ago, I started writing a book. The title came to me. I had no idea what the book was going to be about. The title just came to me. And then I just started writing. And it's not something that I was like, oh, I'm going to get this book out by this time. No, I just was like, every once in a while, I'll write in it. And I just channel. And the title of the book is Magic Happens When Light Meets Dark. And I think it makes perfect sense that I've been drawn to witchcraft, because where else would I find that, you know? And I questioned it. Like, when that came to me, I was like, magic happens when light meets dark. What the hell does that even mean? And I knew that the subtitle was finding yourself between spirituality and humanity. And that is what witchcraft is for me. I am the medium between my own soul and my flesh. Being a witch, practicing witchcraft, is me being the medium between my soul and my flesh. So there's that. Much longer than I thought it was going to be. Maybe I can clip it down. I don't know. Hopefully I will have enough time to edit it to get it out to you guys by Thursday, by the end of the day, because I do have a lot of stuff to do. I keep looking at my clock. That's where I'm looking. But Thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate the joy that you're getting out of this as well. I think that is all. I got a couple of Freedom Friday reboot videos coming out. I'm going to put a whole bunch out to you. So make sure you check out my channel and go back and watch some of those good Freedom Friday reboots. And I will see you guys next week on Wednesday for Witch Baby Wednesdays. Oh, and I'm also doing weekly tarot readings. So on Sunday, I will probably be live on this channel doing a tarot reading. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and you will get notified as soon as I go live. All right, bye guys.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to connect with me outside of YouTube, head on over to my Instagram channel, say hello, watch behind the scenes stuff, and check out any special announcements that I might have going on. Now, if you haven't already, head over and watch one of these awesome videos and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next video, guys.